Hello, my name is Apollinaria. I am a professional spiritual guide and facilitator. I have 15 plus years of experience doing inner work using psychological, somatic, and mystical modalities. And today I want to talk to you about something that I find to be absolutely vital to inner work, and that is empowerment. We live in such a backwards culture that in general, most of us don't actually understand the difference between empowerment and dominance, right? We don't understand the difference between power and force. So today I want to take a little time to go into the actual psychological and spiritual mechanics of true empowerment. I want to go into what empowerment is and what empowerment isn't, in order to offer you a more fleshed out framework of empowerment that can hopefully serve you in your own inner work, in your own inner process of achieving empowerment. All right, let's start by parsing the difference between power and force. Let's distinguish the difference between being empowering and being overpowering, because whether you're conscious of it or not, all of your expressions of and understanding of power is going to fall somewhere on the gradient between these two polarities, right? And culturally, we tend to understand power through domination. We tend to understand power as something that is held by someone that dominates over others. It is something that is attained by someone that dominates over their competition or their opposition. And, you know, don't get me wrong, that is a part of power for sure. That is like a dimension of this reality 100%. That is an expression and a reality of power, no matter who or what you are. That's just a part of this world, part of this natural world, 100%. However, what I'm kind of talking about here is when your entire understanding or relationship to power is in completely centered in and stuck in simply this dimension of power, right? When your entire understanding and reality of power is completely defined by this very specific relationship to power and expression of power, it forms a world that ends up being, run by and created by and for the people, the communities, the companies, the governments that operate on this level. And it becomes a pretty boring and brutal world. You know, it is one that is constantly defined by the victor and only defined by the victor. It is one that is empty and hungry for and in need of more dimensions of life and what it means to be like an actually empowered and well-rounded entity and human being. It is a world where the person that gets, or the entity or the government or whatever, that gets to the top of the fighting dog pile of who is winning and who is dominating, that person maintains their position with like constant reinforcement of power and constant paranoid vigilance, and it's not a power that lasts. It's always usurped by the next person that comes along and like the next round of bloodshed that comes along, and it's just an endless cycle of very boring, again, violence and force and strong arming, whether that's literal or psychological, whatever, or systemic, whatever, And when eventually you do, whoever you are, whatever little fighting pile or big fighting pile or global fighting pile, whatever it is that you ultimately find yourself on the top of within this system of reality and life and power, eventually you get usurped, the next person comes along, as I said, and then you end up, down below with the rest of the pile, squabbling over whatever resources are given to squabble over at like the lower levels of that fight, whether those resources are material or something like a little less obvious, a little bit more subtle, but equally necessary, like social validation or something like that, you know? It is an understanding and a exertion and a actualization and an expression of power, which again is fine, I guess, but it's just incomplete, you know? It is a singular fixation on one single aspect of power, which is dominance, which is force, which is, again, overcoming all of your competition or opposition and then maintaining your power and will and status and leverage over said competition and opposition. So that is force, that is power over, right? That is the philosophy and the lived reality and the psychology and the material manifestation of power that is centered in domination, right? And while that's like a very maybe abstract explanation of it, you know, you can see it all around you. You can see it in daily life. It's the way that people interact with each other. It's the way that you navigate the workforce. It's the way that, hi, you're on YouTube right now. It's the way that the algorithm functions, or at least a lot of people that navigate the algorithm, that's how they function because that's what they're used to. It's just about fighting to get to the top, you know? It's just about fighting to get to the top and maintaining that position at all costs, and that being the singular relationship to power and your own inner sense of power. Empowerment, however, is very different. Like true, deep, spiritual empowerment is very different. Where dominance sources from the outside, from domination over others, a sense of inner power, a sense of inner control, a sense of inner validation, or whatever. Where dominance operates from the outside in, true empowerment operates from the inside out. True empowerment is an expression of deep harmony and connection from the inside out, which then nourishes and empowers everyone around it from the inside out, right? You don't source power from getting it over other people. You source power from your own inner relationship with yourself and with the world, and you empower others from that sense of power, right? It is a fire that lights others' fires, right? It is a sun that brings life and heat to all around it. So empowerment is this expression of deep inner and outer harmony and connection, right? What do I mean by that? In my definition, I want to start by saying this. In my definition, confidence isn't something that is much less something that you like forge and create, and it's much more a lack of inner criticism, inner doubt. It's much more a resolution, a resolving of all of like the inner trauma and programming, which keeps you disconnected and fractured on the inside. And when those when those things are resolved, the intrinsic quality of wholeness and ease, which is just there when all of that is gone inside you, that is confidence, right? It is your actual intrinsic center. So when you get everything out of the way that's in the way of that, blocking it, disrupting that, when you resolve those disruptions within you, you create confidence, right? Or the state that is left is expressed and seen and interpreted as confidence. I think most people have a basic understanding of what I mean when I say, when I refer to the process of resolving the blockages to inner harmony, when I talk about working to resolve the material that manifests as like self-criticism, inner hatred, self-hatred, self-doubt, whatever, all of that stuff, you probably have a general understanding of what I mean when I'm talking about that in that process. But what I assume is a little bit less obvious is what I mean when I say resolving the blockages to your connection and harmony with your outer world, right? So I do want to go a little bit more into that. And I want to start going into that by saying that you do live in a world that sincerely loves you and cares about you, period. And I understand that can be very challenging to hear or ingest, especially at certain parts in your life when you have no access to that connection or that understanding. But I promise you, that is a central aspect of this reality, period. Okay? You also live on a planet that really loves you and really cares about you and wants to look out for you, right? And miraculous, logic-defying things can happen as an expression of your connection to that planet and to that world, right? And this connection is intrinsic to you. It is your birthright. It is your true center, your true homeostasis as a human being. And regardless of how far away that may seem right now from your current experience, right? Because culturally, for many generations, we have been severed from that connection, from that reality, from that communion with reality around us. And I could, I've like touched on this here and there on this channel, and I'm sure that I don't know, I may make videos going more deeply into, I will make more videos going more deeply into this specific topic, but what I will say for now is not only is that like your actual central reality, what it means to be truly empowered is to be connected to this world from that center. It's being connected in a way where your needs are actually and truly met, and you know that your life is exactly what it is supposed to be, period. And there's nothing to fear, nothing really to fear. Not outside of yourself, not inside of yourself. That is true empowerment. It is that lack of fear. It is that existence of true and deep connection. And I do want to also say that as someone who has been through some like really insane and awful stuff, like the kind of trauma and experiences that like not only could I not talk about on this platform, the vast majority of people wouldn't actually understand even if I did talk about it. Like I've been through some very serious levels of hell, right? And I say that to say that having this kind of connection with this world, having this level of empowerment, does not mean that nothing bad will ever happen to you. It doesn't mean that suddenly everything is easy and everything is light and everything is rainbows and the work is over. What I mean by that, what I mean by like you have nothing left to fear, is that even, oh hi, my cat, hello. I don't know if you can see her on camera, but my cat just popped up. Look at her. All right, get out of here. All right. What I mean by that is that regardless of what does happen to you, regardless of what challenges you do move through, there's nothing to fear because you know you will always have what you need to move through them. And you will, again, know that your life is exactly what it's supposed to be and how it's supposed to be, and you will trust that. And you will understand that truly and deeply down into your very bones. And again, that is true empowerment. And it is an empowerment that is, again, forged from and is an expression of deep and true connection with yourself and with this world, not power over people. Like, do you see how much smaller that type of power is than true empowerment? that type of power has nothing on true, deep, spiritual, inner and outer connection and empowerment. And again, this is the type of empowerment that not only doesn't overpower others, it actively empowers others. Because by sitting and existing and understanding this type of alignment and orientation, you inherently transmit, when you become a transmission to those around you, that there is nothing to fear. And when people aren't fearfully scrambling to get on top of each other and get to the top of the pile and to maintain their position in the pile of power, when we're not just fearfully climbing over each other, inevitably and invariably we discover that in the most meaningful ways that matter the most, we are all better off and all much more empowered individually when we work towards the communal and interdependent project of mutual empowerment and wellness. We can all be much happier, much stronger, much better, much more empowered in every meaningful way together. And that is something that is a conclusion that is inevitably reached and understood when, again, you exercise and you maintain and you aspire to a deeper, more spiritual and larger empowerment than just domination. So I think it's obvious which one is better, don't you? All right, so this has been a very introductory and like cursory exploration of this topic, but hopefully it did serve you in providing, a functional framework and general perspective for you to work with and work from in your own work. Work. If the video resonated with you, if my perspective resonates with you, feel free to subscribe. I post videos every Monday. While this was a pretty cursory overview, all of my videos are kind of different angles of the inner work, and they all kind of interconnect and web and weave together. And the more I make, the more this channel grows and continues, the more these videos will deepen and spiral deeper into this perspective and this subject and practice of inner work and inner mastery. So if this resonates with you, feel free to subscribe and come along for the ride of what this channel is doing. If the video resonated, feel free to leave a like and leave a comment. It does help the channel, and I do really, really love to hear your feedback and your thoughts and your perspective and everything else that comes up for you in these videos. I really love to hear it when it comes up. So yeah, I think that's it. For those that are a little bit more esoterically inclined, what I am talking around in this video is what Western mystical traditions refer to as solar consciousness. It is what Eastern mystical traditions refer to as enlightenment. And while I do definitely, while I have started peppering in various mystical modalities and references and, perspectives here and there, I think right now on this channel, I am generally laying out a very solid and thorough introductory perspective. One that, I find that the lens that is the most commonly understood and related to is the one that's most spiritually effective. So at least for now, I am starting with a pretty introductory, pretty accessible version of these teachings and this mystery school that this channel is. However, for those that are more esoterically minded, there will be some more explicit and clear esoteric modalities and practices and perspectives that are going to be popping up more and more the deeper I go into these topics and the more this channel grows. So if you're interested in that as well, and also the more interest that the audience has in increasingly esoteric lenses. So let me know what resonates with you as well. Let me know what resonated with you and what resonates with you to keep digging in more into as well. And as always, thank you so much for doing this work. It is such a beautiful and meaningful and vitally important thing to do for yourself, for the people around you, for the world around you. This is a mess. This is a mess. Let's get to creating something better, and let's get to creating it from the inside out, shall we? So, with that, that's all I got, and I'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.